Good morning. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Lithuania, Your Excellency, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Lithuania, dear Secretary of Energy of the United States of America, dear Director General for Energy of the European Commission, dear Minister of Energy of Lithuania, dear Ministers, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, distinguished guests. Welcome to Vilnius, Lithuania. It is my big privilege today to announce the opening of the second Ministerial of Partnership for Transatlantic Energy Cooperation, which for the first time takes place in Europe. I'm very proud that it takes place in my town, Vilnius. I hope you had some time yesterday to see the beautiful colors of October in Vilnius. Also, you hopefully already had a chance to mingle around and meet your counterparts during yesterday's evening reception and are all ready for the productive today's discussions. Just a few words about myself. My name is Linas Linkevičius. I am the Vice Minister of Energy of Lithuania. In fact, it is my first time in such a role, but it is never too late to learn new things. So it is a big honor for me today to be your guide through the opening part of the event. Just before starting, a small remark that we will have English as a working language during today's event. Distinguished guests, before we dive into deep discussions on the specific energy issues, please allow me to welcome onto the stage for the opening remarks the host of the event, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Lithuania, Gitanas Nausėda. Dear President, the floor is yours.
Dear Secretary Perry, dear ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to welcome you all at the opening of the second Ministerial of the Partnership of Transatlantic Energy Cooperation. Having invited 24 countries for closer cooperation, we rejoice at this great occasion to move forward with our common goals. There is not a single energy minister or business leader here, I presume, who would not have a deep interest in transatlantic energy cooperation. It has never been more important, especially for those countries that have seen energy resources being used against them as geopolitical weapon. I believe that PTEC conference initiative offers a way out of this state of long-standing insecurity. For sure, this aspiration is not the only reason we have gathered here in Vilnius. Sustainable and resilient energy sector with a well-interconnected infrastructure is the backbone of our economic progress, growth, and security. It will remain so in foreseeable future. We must do as much as possible to strengthen it together. The PTEC initiative, launched only a year ago in Bucharest, is tailor-made to connect policymakers, civil society, stakeholders, and business leaders from different countries. Since U.S. Energy Secretary Perry has presented his new framework, we witness a speedy progress of practical work. However, further cooperation on tackling the most pressing energy security issues of the day is still needed. Fragmented infrastructure, power-seeking energy suppliers, and cyber challenges, as well as investment raising and modernization, are the same challenges faced by many countries. We need a more diversified, better integrated, innovation-driven, competitive energy market. We also need a common future based on clean energy. Today, we have a possibility to together develop this cooperation platform. It will help us to strengthen the transatlantic ties. It will help us to implement European energy and climate goals, thereby creating a sustainable single European energy market. We will also be able to identify strategic projects in the energy sector and to explore financing options to get the best results from PTEC. We will also have to facilitate the exchange of technology and best practices. The European Union, United States Energy Council will also benefit from PTEC initiative, for we seek the same goals. We want to promote transparent, open, and secure global energy markets to diversify energy resources, suppliers, and routes, as well as to encourage technology cooperation and innovations related on clean energy. Let me remind you that the Baltic states are already implementing a number of strategic energy projects important for the future of European Union. Our goal is to become a pilot region for enhanced transatlantic energy cooperation. Yesterday, together with Estonia, Latvia, and the United States, agreed to have a regular high-level energy dialogue at the margins of PTEC ministerial meetings. I'm sure it will encourage us to discuss energy projects being implemented in the Baltic states, to facilitate contacts between businesses and policymakers, and to examine regional energy security challenges. In the nearest future, special attention will be given to cybersecurity of strategic Baltic energy infrastructure. We would also welcome a stronger United States role in providing the Baltic states with political and technical support. Time and again, we have been taught the historical lesson that Europe and the United States are stronger, safer, and more prosperous together. On that note, I would like to wish everyone to make the most of the opportunities offered by today's event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear guests, let me invite His Excellency, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Lithuania, Linas Linkevičius, to address you with his welcoming remarks. Dear Minister, please.
Good morning, Mr. President, Secretary Perry, colleagues, ambassadors. Welcome to the second PTEC conference. And why Vilnius? Why are we discussing it here? Let me add a few remarks to the words of the President, saying that we really, those who know the price of freedom, but also we know the price of energy security. And since very short ago, we were really considered as the island of energy in bad terms. We're isolated totally and dependent on single supplies. And we understood that we can be real independent, we can be members of European Union, we can be members of NATO, but since you are dependent on the single source, you cannot be independent by default. So this is something we really went through and really discussed these issues and understood that while decommissioning our nuclear power plant, for instance, we are forced to import more than 70% of electricity, which is beyond of any standards of energy security. We understood that we need to have really very important dialogue with our allies, including and in particular with the United States. We also understood that we need to make this game changer in the region, and we did. We built so-called electricity bridges with Sweden, with Poland. Also gas connections are being discussed and built, and finances were also considered with the European Union, with Poland. So now we are really consider ourselves as a hub of energy security. We really can discuss these issues with others and share best practices, especially after building LNG terminal in Klaipėda seaport. And here we have a lot of common views and common challenges, also with the United States. We need you in Europe. We need your, so to say, shale gas in Europe. We really can use our gate, Klaipėda, for further transport of shale gas to Europe. We already received a couple pilot cargos, and I believe it's also not the end of the game, it's really the beginning. We need to discuss all these issues also in the spirit of our shared values and principles. So why we have the same approach actually with regard to the Nord Stream 2, which is discussed in the European Union. We have our lines to take, we have our principles, we have energy union principles, but it's one side to make it, so to say, as a political statement or document, but it looks not the same to be implemented practically, not only by states, but also by private companies. We need to desynchronize our electricity grid from Russia, synchronize with Western Europe. It will take place for some time, until 2025, so need some resources. We're grateful that we have very good understanding by European Union here, but definitely this gap between 2025 is crucial. So we need assistance, and very valuable assistance from the United States also to discuss and also to implement policies of counter-cyber activities, which was agreed upon yesterday. In general, I have to say that we are very strong transatlantists, and we really believe in that. We understand that the strength of Euro-Atlantic community very important for common, not just security, defense, but also energy. I believe time will come for trade, not the best time for the trade today, but it will come. For climate change, let me mention also very important to discuss these issues. And energy, in particular energy, when we're discussing during Peter conferences, is something which unites us and makes our dialogue even more meaningful. I hope we will discuss also policy of unsafe nuclear power plants, which is being built in our neighborhood. And this is not just about our headache or the headache of our region, it's about precedent, how we will treat nuclear power installations in the neighborhood, what are the principles, standards to be followed, what will be our approach, and what would be our impact and influence into this, which is not always, well, depends on our, so to say, responsibility. Many issues. So before we will dive into the discussion, as it was said by my moderator, let me wish you really the fruitful conference. Let me thank for the partnership, transatlantic partnership, and let me also, well, invite all of you to be frank, candid, open as always. It's exactly what these conferences are for. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Now, we are going to have 3 distinguished guests to deliver their keynote speeches for the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce the first speaker, Ms. Ditte Juul Jorgensen, the Director General for Energy of the European Commission. Ms. Jorgensen, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, Mr. Secretary, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to be here in Vilnius today at this ministerial meeting and have a first-hand experience and insight into the close cooperation that we have between the European Union and the United States, and that our member states have between each other and together with the United States. Energy is one of the cornerstones of our close transatlantic cooperation, and I look forward to continuing the close cooperation in the field of energy policy with the United States, together with our member states. In the European Union, our primary aim is to have a resilient energy union that ensures that our citizens can benefit from affordable clean and safe, secure energy systems so as to move towards a low-carbon, secure, and competitive economy in Europe. In order to do that, we have to enhance our energy security, we have to integrate our energy infrastructure across Europe, we have to diversify our energy sources, we have to diversify our supply routes, and we have to pursue our long-term decarbonization goals through an increased energy efficiency and through more renewable energy in the European Union. Despite the very significant efforts we have made towards decarbonization, our energy mix is still heavily reliant on fossil fuels. Coal, gas, and oil together represent about 72% of our primary energy consumption in 2017. Most of that is imported. Our diversification policy in the European Union is based on striving to ensure that all our member states have at least 3 alternative sources of supply, including access to liquefied natural gas, and we make best use of our European energy diplomacy to achieve this objective. As you will know, imports of liquefied natural gas from the United States, is a key element to improve our energy security, as it comes from a key ally and as it's a reliable, competitive source of energy for the European Union. We have worked together both to agree on the objective of increased imports, but also to continue to build up the trade around liquefied natural gas, including at a high-level business-to-business event in May in Brussels, and we hope to continue that dialogue around LNG. This has been very effective and very efficient. This year, as of the 16th of September, about 30% of total US exports of liquefied natural gas went to the European Union. We had, compared to last year, tripled our imports of LNG from the United States, so 9.5 billion cubic meter of LNG in 2019 so far, compared to 3.3 billion in 2018. One of the tools we have been using are regional workshops throughout Europe. We've had several, and we have a 4th planned before the end of the year in Poland. One of the key aspects of the energy union is energy security, and that can only be achieved through diversification, solidarity, and trust within the European Union. What you will see as a result of the work that has been carried out over the last 10-year period is that we are in a very different situation compared to 2009 when the gas crisis occurred. Both the European Union and our Central and Eastern European member states, including here in the Baltic region, are much better prepared and more coordinated so as to be ready. We have more tools at our disposal to make sure that we are ready. For example, we have adopted a gas security of supply regulation in 2017, which relies on regional coordination and cooperation for crisis prevention and mitigation, and it has also introduced a number of solidarity mechanisms that we can rely on. There's also more transparency. We adopted also in 2017 a decision on intergovernmental agreements, which ensures that all agreements with third countries, between member states and third countries, are notified to the European Commission and assessed ex ante for consistency with European law. This has also improved transparency of gas supply contracts, and it allows European member states to better assess the supply risks and to better prepare for potentially tighter gas supply situations that may result. As I said, the work within regions in the European Union is a very important element of the energy union and of our work towards energy security. The regional cooperation in the Baltic region is probably one of the foremost examples, if not the foremost example, through the Baltic Energy Market Interconnection Plan, or BEMIP as it's called. This has been key in ending the long-standing energy isolation of the Baltic states. As our host mentioned, the Baltic countries and Lithuania are no longer an island in energy terms, but better interconnected and better prepared. One of the key initiatives in this context is, of course, the synchronization of the Baltic electricity system with that of the European Union. And as I have been saying to several of you these past days, this is not just a Baltic project, it's a European project that we stand fully behind and support. BEMIP has to some extent served as a benchmark for similar regional initiatives in other parts of Europe. such as CESEC, the Central Eastern South Europe gas connectivity, which covers both EU member states as well as countries in the Western Balkans, Moldova and Ukraine. Also, this regional cooperation has been successful in increasing the interconnection and thereby energy security and diversification for the countries in that region. We continue to strongly support the regional cooperation as part of the Energy Union. One of the important elements in our Energy Union work is work on projects of common interest, some of which will benefit from funding from the Connecting Europe facility. We have a PCI list, projects of common interest list, that was issued 2 years ago and which ensures north-south priority gas corridors and interconnections between Poland, Slovakia, Czech Republic and Hungary, just to mention some of them. All of these projects focus on interconnection and energy security in the Central and Eastern European region. We have a new list of projects of common interest under preparation. We had a very good meeting on Friday to reach agreement on such a list, and it should hopefully be published before the end of the year. When we talk of energy security, we also have to think of cybersecurity and the digitalization both of our economy and of our energy systems. Within the Energy Union and within the European Union, we intend to work closely together also on cybersecurity as an aspect of the Energy Union and of our security. So to conclude, we've come a long way within the European Energy Union on energy security over the past few years. In 2014, 6 of our member states did not have potential access to at least 3 different sources of gas. Today, after completion of a number of infrastructure projects, including reverse flows, only 3 member states would have access to less than 3, and that number will of course increase as we go ahead with the projects that we have identified and the objectives that we have set ourselves. The improved diversification in our energy supply has also helped decrease prices. Together with energy efficiency improvements, this has led to a lower EU energy import bill, and hopefully that is a trend that will continue. I look forward to listening to the discussions here today. I look forward to getting an understanding of the projects that are under consideration as part of today's meeting. Together with European member states, we will engage to make sure that projects complement and work together with the objectives we have set ourselves in the European Union and align well with the European legal framework. Thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to a continued day today. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Director General. Ladies and gentlemen, I had this rare chance to shake hands with the next speaker during the big event in Vienna about 3 weeks ago. And I did to remind how much we are looking forward to seeing him in Vilnius very soon. I am very happy the Secretary of Energy of the United States is here with us today. Mr. Rick Perry, please allow us to invite you to the stage for your keynote remarks.
Thank you very much. The short period of time that we've been here, Mr. President, you live in a lovely city and of gracious people. You have obviously put together a very extraordinary team of men and women, some of who we've had the opportunity to work with. Your Minister of Energy and your Foreign Minister was spot on in his remarks today of the important things that we face. And Vilnius is as beautiful as you said it would be. So thank you for the invitation, and with anticipation we have come to be here and to convene our second meeting of the Partnership for Transatlantic Energy Cooperation, consisting of proud and free, independent nations across Central and Eastern Europe. Most of these nations, Mr. Foreign Minister, as you reminded us, suffered greatly under the former Soviet Union, under Nazism. For you who represent these nations, you know as well as anyone the precious value of sovereignty and of freedom. And you also know that a country's sovereignty can be threatened, even without overt aggression or occupation. It can be threatened when its enemies exploit its vulnerabilities through coercion and manipulation. And when it comes to energy security, that threat exists. It exists right now, right here on this continent. And here's what I mean. Energy security requires an abundant, a affordable, a sustainable, a reliable supply. But it also requires a diversity of countries that continue that supply, that provide that supply, and a diversity of routes to deliver that supply. Many nations lack energy security precisely because they lack that diversity. They remain highly dependent upon a single supplier, the Russian Federation, for a single source of supply, natural gas. The dangers of excessive dependence has been highlighted before. 2006, 2009, 2014, and again in 2018. On each occasion, Russia cut off or manipulated the gas supply to and through Poland and Ukraine, harming these countries, as well as other European allies and friends. And that is the key reason that President Trump and I continue to oppose the Nord Stream 2 pipeline construction project, as well as the multi-lined Turk Stream project. Nord Stream 2 is designed to drive a single-source gas artery deep into Europe and a stake through the heart of European stability and security. It would increase Russia's leverage over Europe's foreign policy and Europe's vulnerability to a supply disruption. Along with a Turk Stream pipeline, it would enable Moscow to end gas transit through Ukraine by the close of the decade. In other words, Nord Stream 2 would deliver stunning blows to Europe's energy diversity and security. It would transport a single source supply from a single country providing that supply, using a single route to deliver that supply in a way that exploits dependent nations, bending them to Moscow's will as much as anything else. It was the need for energy diversity and security which led me last September at the 3Cs Summit in Bucharest to announce the creation of PTEC. And it is the one reason the Trump administration stands firmly behind the 3Cs initiative. The premise of PTEC is really rather simple. By strengthening their own energy security, countries across the continent can bolster their national security and further their economic security. And one way of strengthening their energy security is by increasing their energy security and diversity. Speaking for my own country, we're ready, we're willing, we're able to help other nations increase that diversity by expanding your energy choices. As I've stated many times, through a cascade of innovations and technology, the United States is providing energy more abundantly, more affordably, more cleanly, more efficiently, and I might add from a wider range of resources than anyone ever thought possible. As a result, we now export our LNG to 36 countries on 5 continents. Obviously, Europe being one of the main ones, which became the #1 destination for U.S. LNG during the first half of 2019. We're about to become a net energy exporter as well. We offer unprecedented energy choices for the world, especially for our trading partners and our allies. So for those countries, the choice means this. If they were restricted to just one source for their energy needs, they're restricted no more. And so we offer not just LNG, but our civil nuclear capabilities, other technologies. It means that if they were bound to just one nation for those needs, they are bound no more. We offer ourselves as a competitive alternative to the Russian Federation. It means that if they were compelled to depend on just one energy route for their needs, they're compelled no more. And so we support multiple routes to deliver energy across Europe. Along with energy choice, we support free and open markets, the rule of law, the sanctity of contracts. We uphold the transparency of energy deals. We oppose using energy to coerce any country, and we remain a rock-solid, reliable supplier of every fuel that we provide. And now, I'd like to announce 2 initiatives to help further advance energy security. First, I would like to announce our intent to form 4 key working groups among PTEC member nations. One group will focus on energy efficiency and on renewables, as I was sharing with the Director General, that my home state of Texas is now the most developed wind energy state in the nation. Texas produces more wind energy than all but 5 countries. I hope that you all were as surprised to hear that as she was. But that's the beauty of what we're working on here, of being able to give these alternatives, to break up some stereotypes, if you will. And I think we have that potential here, the partnerships that are going to be, to come from this. And let me talk about the second group that we were talking about putting together, co-chaired by Romania. Will promote nuclear energy, including innovative technologies like advanced nuclear and small modular reactors. As a matter of fact, on October the 21st, the invitation, I hope, is on many of your tables, if not at least on your mind now. I'm talking to you about it. There will be a small modular reactor conference in Brussels, and I hope to have a delegation from each of your countries to be there to talk about this, I think, transitional technology that is going to allow for the use of nuclear energy in a substantially safer, more economical way, and to really change the landscape to help the countries who are very serious about reducing the emissions. This is the way to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. The third group, co-chaired by Poland, will focus on security of fuel supply, especially regarding pipelines. They're doing some fabulous work between Poland, Ukraine to interconnect those two countries and to see some great opportunities for flexibility and diversity in that part of the European community. And the final group, co-chaired by Lithuania, Mr. President, We'll seek to improve critical infrastructure protection. We had a great meeting with your very capable energy minister yesterday about the cybersecurity challenges that we have, and working together with he and his group. We've seen a threat to, obviously, energy reliability, particularly, again, from Russian cyber attacks on the grids in other countries. And that leads me to my second announcement, which is I'm pleased to announce the creation of a new program called E-TEAM, E-T-E-A-M. It stands for Europe Technical Expert Advisory Mission. It'll help, well, I should say with the help of Argonne National Lab, we're preparing to deploy special teams to conduct assessments of the energy systems of you, our PTEC partners, upon your request. As part of those assessments, we'll identify vulnerabilities and threats to those systems, including threats of cyber attacks. Now, clearly, this is one of several energy challenges confronting Europe today. But I believe as we work together, we can overcome them. And as our energy partnership grows, which is exactly the result of what PTEC was supposed to be, I'm confident that we will see thriving nations that are stronger, that are safer, more secure, more free than ever before. That's my vision. That's my country's vision. That's, I think, your vision as well. There's an old proverb that said, without vision, the people will perish. This group, these freedom-loving people that we have the great privilege to represent, understand that this vision can not only free their people, but also make a future that will benefit people everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, the Secretary. Dear guests, at this moment, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Lithuania, has to leave. So, thank you, dear President, once again. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me invite on the stage and send our big sympathy to the most important energy person in Lithuania, the Minister of Energy, Žygimantas Vaičiūnas. Dear Minister, the floor is yours.
Your Excellency Rick Perry, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, this is a real pleasure to host the second Ministerial for the PTEC, for Partnership for Transatlantic Energy Cooperation. And this is a huge privilege that Vilnius today will become the center of energy discussions for how to enhance the energy security for Central and Eastern Europe. I was thinking to say very concretely that today we have to focus with the efforts of the European Commission, Member States and US delegates to focus on the very concrete and practical instruments. But this, my message now, is without the essence, because Rick Perry said very clearly, two announcements, and this is very practical for us today, how we will see these developments in the region, and it makes very sure that we are not talking about only the political ideas, we are talking about very clear, practical ways forward, how to ensure the bigger energy security for the region. We see that since the end of the Cold War, the United States has always been strongly supportive of Central and Eastern European states and their international aspirations. The US support and attention has been particularly visible concerning aspiration for greater energy security. However, today transatlantic energy cooperation is going through its renaissance. We can see good examples of cooperation between the US and Central and Eastern Europe, both on bilateral and regional levels. One of such good examples could be a trilateral cooperation between the US, Poland, and Ukraine, aimed at providing Ukraine with additional energy security and sustained diversification. This energy renaissance has been achieved partly because of the EU has made wise decisions to demonopolize and diversify its markets. European Commission clear strategy as a whole and energy union in particular has been breakthrough in European energy sector. 5 years on, efforts to deliver on those priorities have brought tangible results. We are talking about the interconnected energy markets, we are talking about the infrastructure, EU legislation to ensure that pipelines with third countries comply with EU gas rules. Also, increasing amount of renewable energy and financial mechanisms. In the next decade, strategic vision of the European Union is going to remain the same, to pursue a prosperous, modern, competitive and climate-neutral European economy. This has already been stated by Ursula von der Leyen, the upcoming President of the European Commission. I want Europe to become the first climate-neutral continent in the world by 2050. To increase the level of ambition, the EU and its member states will pursue the Green Deal. However, despite the significant changes in the energy sector, in a positive sense, a number of EU countries, EU member countries and Eastern Partner countries are still struggling for the great energy security. In times of transformational change across the energy sector, and a part of the already existing initiatives, constant EU attention and support to great energy security in Central and Eastern Europe remains very important. We, as 24 countries in total, being brought together by one initiative, Partnership for Transatlantic Energy Cooperation, on our different tracks in terms of pursuing great energy security. Today, we will have an opportunity to discuss very important energy topics on critical energy infrastructure, energy security of supply, nuclear energy, as well as renewables and energy efficiency. This is diversification of energy sectors could unite us through a sharing and different experiences and seeking the common solutions for challenges of our energy security. A number of issues, including challenges and opportunities, to be discussed today in working groups are also directly related to Lithuania and the region. Just to name a few of them. Baltic states synchronization with the continental European network. This is a key priority for the Baltic states. Implementation of this project will allow Baltic states' electricity system to operate under the transparent European rules and to be for the first time free on the frequency basis. We will manage our networks by ourselves. 2018-2019 was the main breakthrough and beginning of the practical implementation of the project. I'm glad that today we have the ministers of Estonia and Latvia together with us, working on this project shoulder to shoulder. The most critical political, legal and technical documents for the implementation of this project has been drafted, and now we are on the implementation stage. Nevertheless, there are still measures which could be implemented to advance synchronization project and to create more reliable and resilient energy system. That's why today and yesterday we talked about the cybersecurity measures which could be implemented as soon as possible. And the project itself to be implemented not later than 2025. Diversification of gas supply is another important topic of today's agenda. Energy infrastructure in the region will be created for the necessary gas supply by 2021. With the presence of the LNG terminal in Klaipėda, the launch of operation of natural gas pipeline between Estonia and Finland, Baltic Connector in 2020, and the natural gas pipeline between Lithuania and Poland in 2021, new opportunities will open for LNG supply within the region and beyond. This year, we are witnessing the record export of the US LNG as well as a record import of the LNG through LNG terminal in Lithuania. This is directly connected. 4 times increased US LNG export has a very positive effect for the global gas prices. Competitive gas prices, at least 2 times lower than last year, are visible also in our LNG terminal. This year, we will have 50 big and small cargoes will be loaded through the LNG terminal. The same amount which we had just during last 4 years. So this is also encouraging to know that more than 50% of global LNG export growth will be located in the US in the forthcoming years. While more and more US LNG cargoes reaches Western and Southern European gas markets, so far only few of LNG cargoes from the US has been delivered to Klaipėda LNG terminal. Lithuania is eager to discuss for the bigger volumes for the US LNG in the region and measures to boost LNG supply. The European Union climate neutral policy, and in particular ambitious renewable energy targets, stipulates the breakthrough in R&D and utilization of the innovative technologies. Central and Eastern European countries has also huge potential in renewables and R&D. Why not to intensify our cooperation with the national labs of the US and present it worldwide to Europe, Asia, and Africa? Lithuania has some examples towards development and deployment of innovative technologies and has the potential for future actions in this area. We have special focus on prosumers, 50% share of prosumers compared to all the prosumers by 2050. Just a week ago, we launched a system which is functioning in some of the states of the US. This is the system which lets to produce electricity in one place and to consume in another one. I do believe that this model could be replicated everywhere across Europe. I believe you can discuss on practical measures even today. EU countries also remain strong supporters of the Eastern partnerships, intends to diversify their markets and tackle the climate change issue, and has already been sharing its know-how. As you can see, there are plenty of topics and points for fruitful discussions for all of us today. I encourage you to make all the best of and to use this opportunity. Well, and we have similar goals, sharing the same ways of ideas, how to put the instruments forward. Today we have a huge task in front of us, and this is first, to make the PTEC cooperation as practical as possible with concrete action plans in 4 working groups. Second, to discuss not only classical energy topics while witnessing the renaissance of the US and European Union relations in the energy sector, but also to concentrate on R&D, innovations and renewables. Thirdly, to empower this cooperation to our Eastern partners. Once again, I would like to stress that it was an honor for us to be the part of making this event happen in Lithuania, and thank the US Secretary Perry for this initiative. Thank you for attention. I will leave you with the legitimate expectation and concentrated cooperation solutions in all the sessions, in all the working groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Dear guests, we have now finished the opening part of the conference, and we'll have 4 thematic sessions. We will finish today's meeting with the closing remarks at around 5:20 p.m. The whole event will be held in this room. There is space around for your bilateral talks. Just before starting a first thematic session on critical infrastructure, please allow me to invite all the heads of delegations on the stage for a family photo. I wish you all a fruitful discussion today. Thank you very much.